You hear me, Steve?
I can hear you. Hey, we're live. We're live, but we're here with another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files, and I want to thank all my guests for coming on. And tonight we're going to talk about Motorhead and Lemmy, and the whole Lemmy Kilmister. It's about 5 years ago now that we lost him. And it is five-year anniversary was last week. So I invited some of my friends that have done a couple files with us, and Ryan here from the Hudson Valley Squares from Sea of Tranquility. And we're just going to mention like our top songs, favorite songs by Motorhead, or favorite songs this week, and maybe a mention of Lemmy. But first I wanted to mention Alexi, Laiho from Children of Bodom, who we lost tragically. I guess it was Monday morning. I got the news that he had passed, only 41 years old. And I don't know if anybody on the show here has met him before or knew if wanted to make a word or just, or just a moment.
I played a bunch of festivals with him. Savatage did, actually the first festival I think I ever did with them was when I played with Metallium at Wacken. I think they might have been playing, but I know I did Wacken a couple times with them. Once was, I believe, when Doro had her orchestra concert at Wacken, and then they were at the last time I played Wacken with Savatage. They played there. And, I also did Full Force with them. So, I mean, I didn't really know him well. We hung out and drank in the VIP areas, and it was funny because when I first did, I didn't even know who he was. He was just kind of like me, because he's a little guy. I mean, he was just there shit-faced drinking with me, and then I went and watched the band, and I'm like, that's you're Abe Froman? It was like he just had that monster, scary voice for that metal, and he was a badass guitar player, man. He's right up there in the top, probably the top 5 best metal guitar players ever. I mean, he's easily, talent-wise, as good as a dime. I mean, that guy's that good. And you could hear a lot of Jeff Waters from Annihilator was good friends with him, because you could hear that Alexi was really into Waters just by the way he wrote his rhythms. He had a lot of rhythm stuff in that Children of Bodom's things that were very similar to a lot of the Annihilator guitar riffs, and Waters actually knew him pretty well. So yeah, I didn't hear exactly why he died. If people said he had a lot of health conditions, but that's definitely young. I mean, we lost Chris Oliva right before he was 30 with Savatage, and that that was real young, but he was killed in a car accident. But this one is definitely one. I think I've seen more people really verbally affected by this too. His music really affected a lot of that generation.
Yes, definitely. Like kids that shopped in my store that are probably in their like late 20s, early 30s, especially my Facebook feed has just been full of those, of a lot of those customers, playing Bodom all day. And of course, I saw him a ton of times when you were on, like, doing shows in New York City, like we were doing in the 2000s. They were on tons of touring package that would come through.
Yeah, they did the Megadeth tours a bunch of times. And they were on Ozfest, weren't they on Ozfest too?
Yeah, they were, and they were on a big Slayer tour. I can't say I'm stumped on the name now. Skow, you might be able to help me. Slayer did a tour with them, and we saw them at the Meadowlands Arena. I think you were there also.
Yeah, that was like 2006 maybe.
Yeah.
There.
Was it Slayer? Maybe it was Testament too. I don't remember.
I'd have to look. I don't remember.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm misinformed on that one. But anyhow,
Death Angel toured with Children of Bodom in 2014, I think. We did a full U.S. tour, and I didn't know any of those guys until before that tour. But they were all really cool dudes. I mean, Alexi had already quit drinking by then, so he wasn't really hanging out. He wasn't hanging out too much, He's kind of avoiding the party, which I totally understand. Sure. But yeah, he was very, very mellow, cool guy and friendly, and it's a shame.
The last time I saw him was with you, Will, at Bloodstock.
Oh wow! Oh, shit! Yeah,
that was the last time that I saw him. I toured with Children of Bodom a few times.
Okay.
Through the years, plus on 70K, they were on 70K a couple times, and so yeah, it's kind of
I might have bought the shirt from you once.
Possibly. You might have. But yeah, the first tour I did with them was in Europe like 14, 15 years ago, I think. So
I lost
yeah,
my
it's
thingy
really
here.
sad. But yeah, the last time I did see him was at Bloodstock with you.
Oh, there we go.
In that tour that I saw Death Angel with Children of Bodom, I think you had Tyr as the opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Irving Plaza for that. Yeah, I was at Irving Plaza for that one. Yep.
That was one of the last shows of the tour because I think that was the last show of the tour with Children of Bodom at least. And then us and Tyr, Death Angel did a few headlining shows on the East Coast, and then we traveled back cross country and did a few more headlining gigs. But Tyr was on tour with us for like 2 more nights after that show at Irvine Plaza. But I think that was the last night with Children of Bodom. That was a good show.
Yeah, it was funny when that music first started taking off, and I would see them at festivals. Like you really didn't know. I mean, being in Savatage and being just a pretty normal metal band at that time, I didn't listen to a lot of that stuff. And I just remember Oliva was always funny about it because he would call it the Cookie Monster voice. And he's like, those bands with the Cookie Monster voice. And it was the first I'd ever heard that saying, and that was around for a long time. But I just remember watching them, and when you watch those festivals, you see how it works. It's like a Flintstones cartoon where they were running for the rides in the cartoon in the carnival that one time. Well, when the festivals are during the day, those kids will be hungover and tired, but if there's a band they want to see, they run in there and watch that band, and then they'll go back and fall asleep in their little tents at nighttime. And Children of Bodom was one of those bands that had people out there at like noon. And you were like, who the frick are these guys? And they were just a badass band, man. He was a great player.
I have to agree. So anyhow, I guess we are here to talk about Motorhead tonight. And welcome to the Rock Fantasy Files again. I wanted to put that little piece on Alexi in just because of the circumstances of the week. We got Robin here from Gruesome. Also helps out a million bands that sells a ton of concert merch on the road. Got Alexander Bouks from Immolation and, of course, Incantation in the past and other projects. Ryan Skow from the Hudson Valley Squares. We do on Sea of Tranquility every Monday night. We got Will Carroll from Death Angel. We got Kenny from Rooms of Ruin and Morpheus Descends. We got Chris Caffery from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Savatage, and many other projects.
Whoever needs me on their tour, I'm ready. I'm available. I have Metal Fit will travel.
Have Gun will travel. And John Mcentee from the mighty Incantation. We're all here to kind of honor Motorhead, Lemmy, Phil, at Fast Eddie, and the whole 9 yards tonight. We're going to do like a best of song. So I guess we'll do ladies first with Robin.
Me again first? Okay.
You want me to put you
last? So what do you want? Like, do I pick like a song, like, or a story? What do you want?
Whatever you want to do. If you want to do a song or a story, we don't care. I mean, stories are great.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, I just was looking at my Facebook memories, and one of my ticket stubs came up from Motorhead in 1988, I think it was, with Slayer and Overkill. So I think that was like one of the first times I saw Motorhead, and the last time I saw Motorhead was on Motorboat right before he passed. And you could tell like it was just so, it was a great memory. I'm so glad I went on that, just, you know, because I got to see that. So those are my first and my last memories. I met him a couple times. I have a story that I can't share online. I think Will might have heard it at one point in time on like, but I can't.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could share that on here right now, but it was interesting story. But yeah, cool. And as far as like a song, I guess I'm gonna pick my number one because I just feel it resonates with me for like work and everything is Road Crew, of course.
Awesome.
You know, I mean, that's great like choice. My, you know, who doesn't want, like, doesn't matter. It's like an anthem of touring Road Crew. So that's going to be my first and my stories.
Excellent choice. I love that song, and I've always loved the meaning behind it. And I mean, No Sleep Till Hammersmith album, I used to wear that thing out every track on that album. It could be in my top 5, I think, tonight.
Yeah, that's my, like, I just feel like, I mean, pretty much everybody here tours or goes to shows, and that's like even if you're not a road crew, you still feel like you're the road crew because that song amps you up like that. I don't know. It does to me. So,
Another gig, my ears bleed.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt. All right. Anyway.
So I guess I'll go next because I'm in the center on mine next to Robin, and I'm just gonna go with like my number like 5 is like Motorhead, self-titled, and also how it's performed on No Sleep Till Hammersmith, night from 1977. That's mine. Alex?
I met him one time. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Make sure my audio.
You got to get closer to the mic a little bit.
So, I met him one time, and it was the late '80s, and it was during a drug deal. Actually, I won't mention the names because some people probably know people that were here. I know John does, and Robin does too. Probably.
I do.
Yeah, you definitely know.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he came walking in the door. I was sitting on the couch having a beer, and here just comes Lemmy walking in. It was bizarre because you're just kind of, I was just startled. Like, guy walks in the door, and it's Lemmy. It was kind of obscure moment. But first time I saw Motorhead was, I think, the same time you said you saw them, Robin, was with Slayer and Overkill. Unfortunately, I never got to see them early on, but I saw them many times after that. And my favorite Motorhead song would be Capricorn. That is, Fast Eddie's kind of bluesy, haunting kind of guitar playing on the song. It's just, it's just a heavy tune. So, there you have it.
I'm like leaning really close to the thing so I could hear him, and I just, even though it's not helping, I'm like, what are you doing?
Whisper in my ear.
You got to tell me what that story's about after this, please.
I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go off camera. When we're done recording, then we'll hang out, and if anybody wants, we'll have a little after party and a good night drink or something. But cool, Alex. That's really that was a cool story, of course, and that's what I liked about the show tonight. It's like a song and a little story. It makes it much more of an interesting time. I guess we're gonna go with. Are you done, Alex? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hopped right over you. Ryan Skow from our Monday Night Sensations, the Hudson Valley Squares on the Sea of Tranquility YouTube channel. The reason I picked Ryan, being an old friend of mine, a few weeks ago, there was a question on Sea of Tranquility's show, and it was like, how many albums did Motorhead have? And this guy listed them all in his head, and I can't do that. He won the prize.
I'm not going to do that again. I saw them about 5 or 6 times. I'm only 38, so first time I saw them was, I think, 2000 with Morbid Angel in Poughkeepsie. Probably the best time I saw them was 2003. Dio and Motorhead opened for Iron Maiden in Madison Square Garden, which was fun.
How the hell did I miss that?
I don't know. That was for right before or after they did Maiden did Dance of Death. So song I'm going with, a little underrated, I think, but it's from their 2000 album, We Are Motorhead. Hold that out. So the first song, See Me Burning, like one of the fastest songs they ever did. I really like it because Mickey D is just on fucking fire on that song. Just double kick the whole time, doesn't let up. It's one of my favorite songs to listen to when I'm driving, especially, obviously not now, going to concerts, but going to concerts in New York City, I'd always blast that, like one of the first Motorhead songs I put on. So, and that's some of my favorite Motorhead cover art too. I love that. Not one of my favorite albums by them, but I love that artwork. So
that is cool.
Yeah, See Me Burning, first track from that. Great song.
Good choice.
Cool. Mr. Will Carroll, I guess you're up in the center square on my screen. I don't know if you're in the center for everybody else, but you are the center square.
I've seen Motorhead definitely almost more than any other band. They're in my top 5 of bands I've seen most live. They played San Francisco a lot. Like, they would never skip the West Coast of West Coast of America ever. On all their tours, they always played multiple shows in the Bay Area, so I saw them a lot. But I didn't see them early on. So I was a little too young. So my first time seeing them was on the Operation Rock and Roll tour. You remember that tour?
Yes,
It was.
I saw that at the Meadowlands Arena.
Yeah, Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys, and Metal Church. And it was like right during the Desert Storm, the Gulf War. So they had a tour where all the proceeds were going, or a lot of the proceeds were going towards the troops. But that's the first time I saw Motorhead, and they were my favorite band that night. Yeah, it was fantastic. And I've met Lemmy a couple of times. A couple of times at the Rainbow. One time I was playing the Miss Pac-Man machine, and he was waiting for me to get off of it, and he was just making little like wisecracks about how shitty I was playing. It's like, oh, you're not gonna win playing like that, mate, or whatever, you know. So I was totally nervous that he was watching me play Miss Pac-Man. So I was like, here, just take it, dude, it's yours. But and then another time I met him was also involved around a drug deal. So, but I have a list of 5 songs. I guess my favorite song from that list would be "Mean Machine." Is my favorite Motorhead song off of Orgasmatron. That song rips, man. I think that's my favorite era of Motorhead. Is when they had Pete Gill on drums from Saxon. And just Orgasmatron and No Remorse and Rock and Roll, like that era of Motorhead is my favorite, and just the heaviest Motorhead and some of the fastest stuff. Yeah, I dig it. I think Pete Gill is a fantastic drummer.
Cool.
The first Motorhead record I bought with my own money was No Remorse, the double leather vinyl. I guess when was that, 84 that came out, something like that. Yeah.
Is that one leather?
There it is.
Yeah. This one's not leather. No.
Leather vinyl, I remember, or leather, double leather, whatever.
Yeah, this doesn't have anything leather in it. This is just paper and.
Yeah, it was like a limited release that they had back then of the leather one. I got the leather one.
I remember that. I remember it. Yeah, I remember it well.
I think they even had like a set in the leather one. I think too. It was really cool.
Yeah, probably.
I remember when that came out back in the day, and it was $50, and that was outrageous at the time. But now I'm killing myself for not getting it, man. Yeah.
Cool. So, Kenny, I guess you're next in the rock in the line.
All right.
Here.
Well, I unfortunately never met the dude, but he's a huge influence as far as just like a bassist. And anybody with warts that can have sex with Wendy O, all right, that's a good thing. As far as, I don't know about favorites, I'll just throw them out randomly. I didn't really number the songs or anything. Sure. But I'll start with Stay Clean. It's one of my favorite ones. The bass solo in it's one of the reasons why. But one of the reasons why I like Lemmy as a player is because he had such a non-traditional approach to bass playing. Yeah, he was more mid-range. There wasn't a lot of bass in his actual, in his tone. It's more mid-range, higher. And like his technique, he played it more like a rhythm guitar than a bass. So I love guys that just break out of the box, and he plays with a pick, plays with distortion. Not exactly, a lot of bassists get slack for playing with a pick, which I think is complete bullshit.
Well, I'm going to interrupt. I always worshipped Lemmy in that aspect about his sound and what instruments he used and what, gear he had. So high five.
Yeah. He's definitely
I'm just going to interrupt there on that aspect. So
it's a good little bass appreciation there.
Yes, just his sound to me was always
there. It's very, very unique. I don't think anybody else has a sound that can compare to that. Plus it growls. I mean, live, they are really, they're still probably them and Godflesh are about the 2 loudest bands I've ever seen in my life. I was wearing earplugs at every show and my ears were still ringing for days. I mean, it just, they have a monster sound. It really is. And I mean, he's a big driving force in that sound, I feel.
Well, it's a monster sound and there's absolutely no low end.
Oh, no, they're all mid-range and highs.
When you go see them, it's loud mids, upper mids, and high end. There's no low end. And I mean, I'll wait till I get my turn, but I'll tell you how
You're,
even better.
I got, if Ken is done, it is your turn, Chris.
Yeah, go
All
for
right.
it.
Well, I've actually known Lemmy and spent a lot of time with them. You know, Savatage had played with. Actually, Savatage toured with Motorhead on the Fight for the Rock tour before I even knew Savatage. So they had a chance to tour with them with Chris Oliva back in the old days. And I remember the first time I'd met Lemmy, because I'd seen him in bars before. Like I saw him hanging out. I think the first time when I was like 18 years old, he was hanging out at the bar at the Rainbow, drinking and gambling over there. But I was in Greece and Savatage just did a show, and I went to a rock club after it. And Lemmy and I know Mickey was there. I don't know if Phil was, but Phil was. He was always out when they were, but he would have his drug deal. So, but I met Lemmy, and the only thing he said to me, I said, you know, Lemmy, I'm Chris. I play with Savatage. He just looks at me. He goes, Savatage, it's a great fucking band, and that was it. That's all he said the first night I ever met him. But we played with them on a bunch of shows. We on the Poets and Madmen tour. We were in Austria playing. I forget the name of the metal festival in Austria, but we were playing over there. Motorhead was headlining, and we were going on right before them. And we finished our show, and they called me into their dressing room, and they said, "Look, Motorhead's been together." I forget how long it was at the time. It was definitely closing in on 30 years or whatever. They said, "We've only asked 11 people to be on stage with us, and we were watching you play with Savatage, and we thought that the spirit of Chris Oliva lived inside your guitar playing, and we want you to be the 12th." So they asked me to go up on stage and play. I played Killed by Death with them at that festival that night. I was in the dressing room going over the song with Phil, and Lemmy at that point opened up his second bottle of Jack Daniels for the day. It was bottle 2, and this was, you know, about 9-10 o'clock at night. And I went up on stage with them and played that song, and it was the loudest experience I ever had in their monitors. And they were yelling at their monitor engineer, even during that song, which was like third or fourth into the set. And I don't even know what they were asking him to turn up or down, because I don't know how they could hear anything, because it was just a battle of sound. And Lemmy had his amps up all the way. They were just Marshalls turned all the way up with his bass coming out. And then Phil had his amps all the way up, and the drums were and it was just a battle of monitors. But I got to play that song with them. And it's funny because a couple shows later that we did, we were playing Gods of Metal with them in Italy, and we opened for Motorhead in Austria, but in Italy, we were headlining that festival after Motorhead. And the thing was inside a basketball arena, and there was 2 stages on each side. So Motorhead's playing, and we're on the other side getting ready to go, and our dumb crew is there doing sound check during Motorhead. And our drum tech is hitting the drums, and our sound guy's testing the PA while Motorhead's on stage. And so Lemmy's up there, stops Motorhead, and goes, "Hey, Savatage, waste your fucking turn," in the middle of a fucking Motorhead concert. And we're done, and Lemmy comes up to me, and he was just like, "That was the most fucking bullshit thing I've ever seen in my..." Like, we had it, I don't know if it was after he played before we did or whatever, but he was bitching to me about them, and oh my God. But I spent a lot of festivals and times with them, they were always around. I remember many times eating breakfast with Mickey D in hotels, and he was pouring his Jägermeister into his cereal. I mean, that band lived what they did 24 hours a day. You could say there's a lot of people that, you know, did the rock and roll thing when they were on tour. Motorhead was Motorhead 365, 24/7. They never stopped. And every single one of those 3 was a character. They were all super crazy, all had their different types of drug problems, like, and they had different personalities, and it was an amazing band. I mean, as far as favorite songs, I mean, Killed by Death obviously has a special meaning to me, but you know, there's the obvious ones, but I always really liked Chases Better Than the Catch. I thought that riff was really cool. And I like Overkill too, because that song was just a lot of fun. And I remember I got to play in a charity thing in Jersey with the Overkill band, and we did Overkill when I did Overkill with Overkill, which was pretty cool. But that's a great tune. I like Overkill.
That's cool.
And I like Love Me Like a Reptile just because it's funny.
Cool.
I could go over their songs forever. But yeah, I saw those guys and knew those guys, and they were really special people. They definitely were. And Lemmy he was a one of a kind, and he was one of those ones where he was like, if he ever stopped what he did, he wouldn't have lived. And he honestly believed, even to the last day, that he would have died 15 years before he did if he ever let his body know exactly what he is that he did to it.
That's really cool, Chris. That's a great story. I guess we're kind of doing a round robin, so we'll come back to you.
John Mcentee.
Hey, don't forget about me.
No, I am. I'm going to you next. So not to Robin. We're doing a round robin. So
no, don't say round robin. John.
Round robin.
It's okay.
Chris, were you done? I hopped right over you.
No, I don't. I mean, I didn't know how we were doing the song.
Oh yeah, we're doing it like a round robin, so we'll come back and hit you for a couple more.
All right,
songs.
so since I already named 3 of the songs and she named one of mine, and
that's cool. All right.
I got nothing left. Ace of Spades, everybody knows, and that's basically it.
Right.
So I got nothing left to say. I'm gonna listen to you guys, and I like every song you say. That's
Put in some point. Yeah, you can make in some pointers. Oh, so John Mcentee from the mighty Incantation. What do you got to say?
Well, my first time seeing Motorhead, I was pretty young. I must have been 14, 15, and my mom brought me to the show. She used to bring me to like a first couple of metal shows around awesome. 85 or something like that. I forget. But this was like the first, for me, it was the first underground show because it was at the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey. It was that Motorhead Merciful Fate Exciter show. And I could not, I had to see it. I had to, and I basically had to beg my parents, because first of all, Passaic is not the best part, best area to go to, especially as a kid, and then, my mom was not necessarily a fan of Motorhead, Merciful Fate, or Exciter. She didn't mind taking me to see Kiss or something, but Motorhead was a little rough. But anyway, I went with these 2 other kids from down the street too, and I don't even think they really even knew who Motorhead was, but they just wanted to go. So, but anyway, yeah, it was. The show was so loud. If you've been to the Capitol Theater, there, that's an old venue, and basically the asbestos paint was falling down from the ceiling while they were playing, onto everybody. Obviously the show was amazing. Exciter, was amazing. Merciful Fate, of course, Don't Break the Oath. But Motorhead just totally kicked my ass. It was the 4-piece lineup, for the No Remorse album. So it was just really, really killer. And one of the things that was really special about that show was for the encore, Wendy O. Williams came out and did No Class with Motorhead at that show.
Right. Yeah.
And Wendy O. Williams pulled up her top. And, my mom's like,
"What a surprise!"
My mom. It's funny because my mom's telling me "Who's that tramp?"
I was at that gig. I still remember what a great gig that was, and a historic one that people still talk. I tell people I was out there oh my God, that's like a dream concert.
That was a legendary show for sure. So anyway, since that I'll go with No Class as my pick. Really, there's so many great Motorhead songs, especially in that early era to around No Remorse. For me is one of my sweet spots. There's I'm listening to these songs, how do I pick a favorite? Because everyone I'm listening to at home, it's my favorite, But anyway, I'll go with No Class for now. That it just, it was awesome to get to see Wendy L. Williams play too with them, because I did go to see Wendy L. Williams play on her own, but I got kicked out because I was underage. They wouldn't
That
let me
was
stay for
that
the
was
show.
a
That was at
that was
Manhattan.
at Club Manhattan's, right? Yeah, I was at that show.
Yeah, I was there too, but they kicked me out. I think I saw the opening band Prowler play, and that was it. Then they said
Yeah.
then they checked for IDs. I'm like, you checking for IDs after I pay to get in?
They just found out she's gonna get naked and saw up a TV. You gotta get the kids out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was at that Merciful Fate. I remember Merciful Fate more than Motorhead that night. But Merciful Fate, and when that was my first experience to them, to get off the subject just a little bit, and when King Diamond came out and said, "I want to turn the Capitol Theater in the House of Satan," people were looking at him like, "Oh my God!" It was like you were in the middle of a horror movie. Because now, I mean, there's a million like Satan records, but then there was nothing really like that, and it's so heavy and intense. It was
just think of what my mom thought of that.
Yeah, what did your mom think of that?
She's just like, she just couldn't understand. I mean, there were people like moshing in the aisles at the Capitol Theater and stuff, because there's all seats and stuff. And my mom's just like, wow, this is a lot different than, going to see, like I said, Kiss or something like that,
Yeah.
But it, she didn't necessarily like the show, but she knew I loved it,
Yeah. You had cool parents for that. Yeah, your cool mom for going to that. Sure.
What was that, Alex?
Alex?
I think your mom told me that she had a crush on Paul Stanley, I think.
Yeah, she liked the way Paul Stanley danced on stage, because she took me to see him for the Animalize tour, and how he does all that fancy character stuff. My mom was like, "Oh, that guy's a good performer. He's really good. I like that guy."
I guess we are back to Robin for
Back to me.
choice.
Oh my. All right. So I'm going to tell a story, but it's not really a story because I have other stories, but I thought this was interesting. And I just saw it in an article on Bass Player Magazine. And it was Phil Campbell talking about the pandemic and Lemmy. So I thought it was kind of interesting in saying that Lemmy would have, he wanted to tour, but he was really lazy. He liked to just stay home when he could and go to the Rainbow, and that was about it. So he didn't know what he would do. And I just thought, and there's more to the article if you guys are interested in reading it, but
okay.
I just thought it was like kind of cool. That's just me.
He wouldn't be able to go to the Rainbow even. It's probably
exactly.
closed now,
So
right?
he'd probably be like
crazy.
Like you have to read the article. It's pretty good. And I'm pretty jealous about the Plasmatics because like every time I think of the Plasmatics, of course you think of Motorhead. It's like it's the same, they're one and the same. Not really one and the same, but you know what I mean. And as far as songs, it's so hard to pick. Everybody is picking everything, and I don't. Possibly like one of my favorite to like play maybe is Iron Fist. I think it's just fun to play and it's a good tune. So that's gonna be my next choice, I guess. I don't know if it's like they're pretty much every Motorhead song is in like your top, I think. I don't know. It's really difficult. So yeah, I'm gonna say Iron Fist.
Cool. Well, thanks. I guess I'll do my moment with Motorhead. One of them. I mean, I didn't get to see them too much later on. I somehow missed that Madison Square Garden gig with Maiden. And what was that? Dio, you said? Skow? I don't know how I missed that. Where the hell was I? Must have been under a rock. But my first time of finding out about Motorhead was I was at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie. It was an all-day event because earlier in the day, SUNY New Paltz used to have a spring concert every year, and we were there. And I believe that year, I might be wrong because I won a couple of years, but that was the same day. It was like Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush at New Paltz. So this was like a free concert, and you go out in the field, and it was like them and I think maybe Joan Jett, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It was a really good concert. And then, of course, we were metalheads, and we were there. We had our cooler, we were drinking, and we drove to Poughkeepsie. And we were going to see Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz tour. And out comes this three-piece. Like Chris and everyone said, loud as shit, heavy as hell, And it wasn't like the floor was empty at the Civic Center. They used to put out these plastic chairs, and I don't know if we were like fifth row or something. Everyone was standing on those plastic auditorium chairs, just staring at the ceiling like this, like that. Not up at them, not the ceiling, but staring up and just in awe. Like they came out and blistered, and you were like, "What the fuck is this? It's so heavy and fast." I mean, picture yourself in '81, you know. So that was my Motorhead moment of just being blown away, and of course rushing out and getting the record. They didn't even have merch, I believe. A friend of mine was just talking about that gig. He goes, they didn't even have merch at that show. He didn't get a shirt. But I also met Lemmy later on at a club that John was talking about, a Club Manhattan's Motorhead played there. And I remember him hanging out outside. There were like these railroad ties on the side where people go out and smoke. And I just went up and got a photo with him. I told him about the store. We had a little conversation, and I don't even know where that picture is anymore, unfortunately. And I guess my next song, I'm going to go off the grid and not go with my ones I wrote down. This is one I did write down. It's from 1983. It's Another Perfect Day, Shine. I saw that tour also at the Chance with Brian Robertson. And I was very inebriated, probably like Lemmy. And I remember going to that show, and I remember drinking before. As you know, when you're a younger kid, you're like, going to see Motorhead tonight. Let's start drinking now, you know. But Another Perfect Day tour was great, and the Shine, that Shine song just smokes. I just love the drive behind that song. And I guess Alex, it's over to you.
Okay, next up for me, I guess, would be actually from the same album you just mentioned, Another Perfect Day, would be One Track Mind. And that's also got Brian Robertson on guitar and one of my favorite guitar players. And yeah, that's definitely probably one of my top five.
Cool.
It's too hard to sit there and name 5 Motorhead songs. I mean, those records are part of my DNA.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but of course the early era is my favorite with Fast Eddie and Filthy Phil. But I love all the records they did in the '90s and the 2000s with Mickey D and Phil Campbell, which are phenomenal as well. So, but obviously the stuff you grew up with is the stuff with that sticks with you the most. You know?
Yeah.
Phil Campbell's a very underrated guitar player, without a doubt. Phil Campbell's extremely underrated.
Great player. Yeah. Peaceful player.
All righty. Ryan Skow from Hudson Valley Squares. There he is. He's back.
Back on that too with you guys, because my next pick's also from grabbed this from the shelf. Another Perfect Day, and I fucking love that artwork. So I had to grab it. I'm going with the first song, Back at the Funny Farm, because I guess I'm obviously being a little younger. I guess when this album came out, like people gave them shit because it was not as heavy. I don't know, as some of the earlier stuff with Fast Eddie, but I think this album's heavy as fuck. Robo's obviously a phenomenal guitarist. I thought he fit well with them. I don't know. It would have been cool if he did some more stuff with them, but I guess they didn't get along too well. But Back at the Funny Farm is like I thought for all the metal bands, all the rock bands, they probably have some of the best opening tracks of any band. Like I can't think of another band who every album, the opening track is just phenomenal. Iron Fist, Ace of Spades, Overkill, right down the line. Death Forever from or Gasmatron. But yeah, Back at the Funny Farm, I think, is one of the best ones. So going with this bad boy.
Cool. Nice. Well, Carroll, you're on the spot.
I'm actually sticking with that same album. And I'm doing awesome. I Got Mine. I love that track. For all the same reasons. I think Robbo is a great fit for Motorhead and added a whole new sense of flavor to the music. And there was more melody, and I just dig it. I also wanted to bring up, I went to Lemmy's 50th birthday party at the Whiskey. That was in like 95, I think. And Metallica played, and they played as they played as the Lemmys.
Yeah, they all wore the wigs. I saw the video. I love it.
Yeah, they all wore wigs. They even had little warts on their faces and stuff.
So good.
They went all the way, man. It was a great party. It was a lot of fun. I got in because I had just finished drumming for Machine Head for the Machine Head tour, so I was still using that clout and going, "Hey, I'm a Machine Head. Can I get it?" So at least something came out of that tour. Hey, all right.
Oh my God.
Cool. All righty, Kenny. I guess we're back around to Ken.
All right. Next, Bomber. The album and the song, but I like the studio song a lot. But I also like the version that Girl School did on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I just thought it was cool. They did a really cool version of it. I mean, it's always been one of my favorite songs, but hearing them do it, I thought that was pretty cool too. So definitely Bomber.
Awesome. Great choice. Chris, you got another one you thought of or you want to throw out there?
It's funny thinking about the whole Bomber thing because I was I wasn't a snotty metal fan when I was a kid, but I liked Rush and I liked Triumph and I liked Maiden and Priest, and those were kind of like the bands that were a little bit more high end as far as the musicianship level went in their music and what they're doing, especially Rush and Triumph with that type of the metal music. And Motorhead, I didn't even know who Motorhead was really. Like when I was maybe 10 or 11, I first saw that, the record with the Bomber on it, the live picture. I always thought that looked really cool. But when I first listened to Motorhead at that age, I always thought they kind of just sounded like, for me, they sounded like a bad cover band, because it was like they were just this band that had, the really 3-chord metal tunes that Motorhead grew on you. Every year you got older, you understood Motorhead better. It was kind of like every year you listened to, every year from the age 18 on or 25 on, when you listened to Sinatra, you kind of understood what Sinatra was singing out more and more. When you grew older, Motorhead grew with you. And it was like that you morphed together. When I was 40 years old or 35 years old or whatever, or even my 30, when I was doing Savatage festivals and Motorhead and stuff like that, you just grew older, and all of a sudden it was like Motorhead started to make so much more sense to you than you were a snotty 12-year-old kid who liked 2112. It's like a big difference because, imagine when you heard some of those songs and you were 12 and you were like, love me like a reptile, like, what does that mean to a 12-year-old? Really? It's like Godzilla movies at that time. That's the only reptile I knew of. But yeah, there's great music on all those records, and like I said, I could go on for hours and hours and hours with stories, but I'm gonna keep. All
right.
I'm gonna keep them out of trouble.
Okay.
They always give you funny stories. Like the oddest thing about it is Motorhead themselves' funniest stories are about Phil Campbell, because the one thing that nobody really knows is Phil Campbell was by far the most fucked up person in Motorhead. Like on a whole different level than Mickey and Lemmy. And Mickey and Lemmy were pretty fucked up a lot, but Phil was like a whole nother level. And they would tell me stories that are just like the weirdest ones, like how, he somehow found his way into the maid closet of a hotel, and then the maid came into his room looking for the vacuum that he stole, and he was fucking the vacuum hose in the hotel room when the maid walked. It's just like stories like that where you're sitting there going, and they're real stories, how Mickey walked in his hotel room one night, Phil was on his bed fucking a giant bag of popcorn. And you're like listening to the story, and they're laughing. They go, oh, I remember that. And it's like, that's an actual Motorhead story. So there's funny, because like I said, a lot, we were talking about Lemmy here, but there's a lot of classic Motorhead stories that I had that really were a lot of Phil Campbell. I mean, that guy is freaking crazy. Phil was actually probably one of my favorite rock stars. That guy he's a piece of work. I love that guy. But Lemmy was Lemmy, but Phil's like a priceless hidden gem in the Motorhead history that you have to be really close to the band to kind of know more about it. But Phil Campbell is definitely he's priceless.
Cool.
Last year at Hellfest in the toilet, that's where I met him. He was taking a piss. What up, mate? I was just like pissing, and he's just, hey, mate.
Hey, John, what do you got for your next round here?
Okay, well, really, I'm just looking back on my first time actually hearing Motorhead, and it must have been around when I was probably 12 years old. I used to race BMX bicycles, and I go to a track in it was called Braddock Park. It was in like Jersey City area. I kind of like my local bicycle shop team kind of thing. We go and just do competitions and stuff like that. It was more like racing or whatever. And there was one bike shop that was all like metalheads, and every time one of their bike riders would go on the track, they'd have this huge fucking PA blasting out of their van, and it'd be blasting like Ace of Spades or something like that, like really freaking loud, and and I just remember hearing it, and I was into metal, but I wasn't that deep at that time yet, but I just thought it was it was so fucking cool to hear that, and it was one of the things that really made me want to find out what it was, because like, fuck, their bicycle shop is so much cooler than ours, it's like, they're blasting Motorhead and stuff, but anyway, as far as tracks, it's really tough to choose, but I want to say the title track for a Sacrifice album, so good.
Yeah.
So good. You know, once they got Mickey D on drums, right from the bat, it just comes in with an amazing drum beat and just heavy. And that album's heavy as fuck. I mean, it's hard even to pick a song because there's really a lot of great, like, when I heard that album, I was like, holy crap. Like, it was almost like they just had like super inspiration sauce or something like that, like they had like an extra bottle of Jack or something. Cause they were like, to me, that album really hit me again. I was like, oh wow, this band's really, recovering and back, super awesome. So I go with that. I mean, like throughout that whole album, the Mickey D drum playing is just, man, it's phenomenal. So good. He integrates with it. What's great about Motorhead, with all the different drummers and stuff like that, they all had a different feeling, but it was all able to work in a great way. They just utilized all, because I mean, all the other drummers are great too, but they all have their distinctive feeling. When you hear the album, you can just tell it's Mickey D playing drums, but it sounds like you're not bummed out about it. I mean, Filthy Phil's obviously amazing, but I don't know. I didn't miss them when I heard that album. I didn't miss any of the former drummers.
Totally, I agree, man. Sacrifice is a killer comeback album.
Yeah,
heavy. Real heavy.
It's the last one with Wurzel too, I think.
No, I don't think Wurzel played on, or did he play on it?
It was the last one with him. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, we were talking about Phil on guitar, and yeah, I mean, I think Wurzel kind of stole a little bit of spotlight from him early on when he was in the band, but it's like Phil, I think, was more not better, but just you seen him shine later on,
Yeah, I definitely. He just had a sound and a thing about him. Phil, he was that whole rock metal thing with Motorhead, which Mickey was, probably in a top 5 of my favorite metal drummers ever. Playing in Motorhead, who was basically one of the more straightforward rock metal bands. But I think that combination of Phil's rock playing with that drumming of Mickey being that heavy and solid, because Mickey's a machine. That guy's a freaking machine. And then that's what was able to make, the sound of Lemmy's really mid-rangey bass be that much stronger live, was the fact that you had literally a machine coming out of that drum set. I mean, so he was getting all the low end of a Motorhead concert was the kick drum. That was basically the only low end you had was Mickey's feet. But Phil's rock guitar playing and that tone that he had was a big part of that sound, that recent last, how many years it was, at least 20 years that Phil was in Motorhead, 25 years. But I mean, I think it was at least that. But I mean, they definitely had a sound with those three that I think to me was even watching the old live recordings, because I never saw any Motorheads before that version. So, but I'd watch the old recordings, and I just think that they had something of those three together. If you watch some of the live videos, like a live Overkill with this band, and you just see that presence of those three together, they were just really special. There was a special chemistry between those three. I think that's my favorite out of all the Motorheads. And when like I said, I've watched a lot of the old live videos. I never got to see them live, but I really like the chemistry of those three. They had a really distinct sound.
I agree. All righty. We're going back around to Ben here, and we're up with Robin, and your closing statements, I guess. For
closing statements. Okay.
no, I mean, third round. We're in the
my
third
closing
spot.
arguments: Motorhead, raw and real, gavel down. That's it. No, that's not my closing statement, but that's a good ending. But as far as I don't know, I did get to like touch Lemmy's bass and like hold it, and that was amazing. That was one of the best things ever. And I have a picture somewhere. I gotta find it, but that was amazing. The woodwork one, oh my god! And probably the loudest Motorhead concert I have seen out of all of them was in Toronto. That one stuck out to me so much. Like I was trying to talk to my friend and say something, and like I couldn't even hear like my own voice. You know, I was like, it's crazy. And then I wound up even side stage, like what Chris was saying, like side stage, it was just loud. It was insane.
It's ridiculous. I couldn't believe it.
I'm just like, how are they hearing any? It was so loud. Like that Toronto show was, I want to say it was at the Sound Academy, I think. I can't really remember. I was actually on tour, and I got out early, and I went over because I knew Motorhead was playing, and I went to the show after my tour, and I got to catch like the last part of Motorhead, and it was like worth it. But yeah, so but it was that one for some reason out of every other Motorhead show, it was just, I don't know if it was the venue or just the fact that it was insanely loud. I don't know.
Yeah, it's usually I don't even remember what venue it was, Steve. There was a venue around here somewhere in the tri-state area. It was a small theater-like venue, and it wasn't too long ago, obviously. I saw Motorhead there. Might have been about 15 years ago or something like that. And I can't remember.
Skow, do you remember theater around here?
It was like a small theater-like venue in this tri-state area where Motorhead played, and I went down there, and it was by far, next to that time on stage with them and those monitors, that show in this one little theater was so.
Man, I don't remember
what theater it was. I have to ask Mcentee will remember from skate. I went with
Mcentee.
I went with Mcentee to this Motorhead show.
But yeah, I mean, their stage sound is so like side stage was just as loud as being like out in the crowd. I was like, holy crap. But yeah, so those are my other two memories. And as far as songs, I can't even pick. I mean, you guys keep naming them. I'm going to say, though, it's not in my top, but I love it because it's just so, I don't know, I just love the song. And I think it's also because Sepultura did a cover of it, Orgasmatron.
That is a great song. It really is.
So that's gonna be my third pick. I'm gonna pick that because I just can't. I mean, everybody mentioned everything else, so yeah, I'm picking Orgasmatron.
Cool. And I guess it's back to me again. I'm going to mention a couple things about Motorhead and Lemmy, and one song that was overlooked in the metal community that made them like a real household name. And when pro wrestling, I mean, it's still big again now, but it was huge then when Lemmy went out and did that song, The Game, for Triple H. And I know people that aren't metalheads that just, from the wrestling world, which I was involved in for years, that just kind of know, oh yeah, Motorhead, The Game. That's all they know. But they all love it because it's a wrestling theme. You know what I mean? And I thought it was a really good song anyhow. I mean,
I remember the first time they played that, they debuted that song, I think, on one of the TV shows. It was might have been a Monday Night Raw where they debuted that
Yeah,
song
it
with
was that
Motorhead.
or WrestleMania or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they definitely debuted playing that song live. It's something on TV that I saw them doing in one of the wrestling things.
And another song that I'll mention that's in my top list would be "Shoot You in the Back."
Good
Western
song.
movies, love that. I like Lawman off of Bomber too. I guess you can tell I've been watching a lot of westerns. I had a quote from someone that was on my Facebook thing about how, oh yeah, Motorhead, you know, this band here, yeah, really good Mexican band. They didn't really know who they were. They just looked at it. Yeah, that's heavy. They're Mexican guys, right? You know. But I don't know. Rock and Roll also is another song that I think needs to be mentioned tonight. And I think
Definitely.
everything else on my list someone's mentioned. Of course, Ace of Spades. Of course, another song that people know them by if you're just a casual metalhead or something like that. Not that casual metalheads are probably watching this program anyhow. But I guess that's all I have to say. I also want to say, I mean, we're going to go around and finish it up with everyone, but I also want to mention our good friends in Gohor are doing a streaming on Saturday night, 6 p.m. Go to gohor.net, get your information. It's like $15, you know. Even if you don't want to watch it, support the band, you know. Everybody needs their support right now in this community, and rent the stream. Maybe I think they've got some merchandise. I just did the Death Angel with Will. I did TSL with Chris. I did the Kiss New Year's Eve. I even did the Jimmy Sturr polka show. I mean, I've had concerts in the living room with the wife and fire and some beers. So we got to support the stream. So yeah, Gohor this week, 6 o'clock on Saturday night. You can still get done and watch the Buccaneers game after.
Yeah.
Alexander, you're up next.
Hold on, I gotta lean in.
Yeah, so, I'll try to touch on the different eras of the band, I guess. And so I guess for my next pick would be the song Civil War, which is off of Overnight Sensation. That's with Mickey D and Phil. And it's just, it's the opening track. I think it's the album right after Sacrifice. And it's just a real aggressive track and just, crushing song. And it's definitely one of my favorites as far as that era of the band. And that record. It's another phenomenal record up there with Sacrifice.
Cool.
Yeah, there you have it.
All right.
Killer.
Alex, thanks for all your input. And Ryan Skow from the Hudson Valley Squares.
All right, I got to go with an obvious choice here. So it's probably my favorite live album of all time. So obviously got to be this motherfucker. I'm going to go with Overkill. It's like Chris said, with the shows, all the low end came from the kick drums. And this is an album, you can't ever play it loud enough because Phil's bass drums on this, it's like artillery fire. Like the louder you put it, the better it sounds, to the point where your head's starting to vibrate. And especially in that track, just because his kick drums never fucking stop. The song is just fucking loud and powerful as is. That the studio version on Overkill is cool, but this is like the definitive version for me. It's just fucking amazing, and just the way it sounds. It's just so fucking heavy and raw and like filthy. And it's one of those albums that the louder you put it, just the better it sounds. To the point where starting to go cross-eyed from the volume. But that's how you got to listen to Motorhead. So going with Overkill from No Sleep.
It's such a great album. I was listening to it this morning on my morning walk I do with the dog every day. I was like, man, check this out. I listened to that whole album walking this morning. Excellent.
Can't ever get tired of it. It's so fucking good.
Cool. So what's our topic on Monday night for Hudson Valley Squares? Did they throw it at you yet? Did they give us a topic yet?
Yeah, Pete said, but Pete told me, but I already forgot, so I have to look it up.
I forgot to. I guess we can't promote them on that show. We'll talk about something music next Monday, so check us out. Will and Mr. Death Angel, what do you got for us for your final closing statements today?
Just a few songs I want to mention. Like you guys already mentioned Rock and Roll. That's one of my favorite Motorhead songs. And Sacrifice, for sure. I also love Steal Your Face. That's one of my favorite songs. I love the guitar intro, that no, with a hi-hat going behind it. Really, really killer. It has a cool, like, slow groove to it. I also love the song Dr. Rock. That's one of my favorite Motorhead songs. That's my favorite song on Orgasmatron, and that's my favorite Motorhead album. So, yeah, just totally rocks. They always play that live, too, even up until the end. That was always in their set list. Sometimes they'd open up with that song, and it was a great opening track. And for a closing statement, I just want to talk about Mickey D real quick. I'm a huge Mickey D fan. Starting from King Diamond, of course. And I remember after he quit King Diamond, he joined Don Dokken's solo band. Not Dokken, but Don Dokken. I'm like, what a fucking waste of talent, man. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys are friends with Dokken, and I'm not trying to talk shit about Dokken, but give me a break. You don't need Mickey D to play drums for Don Dokken. All right, man. You went from Wild Mick Brown to Mickey D. I'm sorry, no way, dude. So I was really offended by that, actually, because I was a King Diamond fan and a Mickey D fan. I was like, what are you doing, man? I understand he's going for the brass ring, but he was much better in Motorhead. When he joined Motorhead, he definitely redeemed himself, and that was in the Scorpions. So more power. Yeah, more power to him, man. I'm a huge Mickey D fan, and I'm stoked that he's in the Scorpions now. I saw them last year or 2 years ago with Megadeth, and they played the Oakland Coliseum, and I never thought I'd see Mickey D on the Oakland Coliseum stage, so I was really happy for him, and he's come a long way from Don Dokken.
They would have retired. They would have shut Scorpions down if it wasn't for Mickey D joining the Scorpions. Mickey D joined the Scorpions, and he gave them a rebirth in that band. He's pushing them to play because he doesn't want to stop it. It's kind of funny too, because after talking about how fucked up Motorhead is and was, it's like Mickey got the gig in the Scorpions because Kotek was even more fucked up than him. So
yeah, I was just going to mention that guy. I know it was like Richie or something. That guy went like crazy in like Abu Dhabi or something, didn't he?
Yeah. He got arrested in Dubai. I think it was something like that, and had to miss some shows. And they took Mickey to do some stuff, and just decided to keep him when the opportunity came to make a decision. And they seriously were going to shut that band down and retire, but
I saw the farewell tour twice.
They like things with Mickey D. Mickey D, he's a lot of fun. He's one of those people like Oliva that when you get in a room with them, he makes things more fun. He adds fun everywhere he goes. So he makes, for those Scorpion guys, they're pretty laid back, but I could see them laughing their asses off at him because he's just a funny guy. He really is.
I'll mention, I saw that tour that you saw at the Garden. It was Megadeth and Scorps, and I was on the side of the stage at the Garden. I always try to get seats on the side because I don't want to pay big bucks to sit fourth row in the front where I can sit like fourth on the side and pay like a fraction of it. And I was watching, and he made this, and I love the Scorps. I like the hair metal stuff. I like all of it. And he made them so much solider.
Yeah.
Like watching him up there, it's like, wow, they were so great. And that's the last time I got to see him. That tour actually got cut short. Like Dave got sick and Claus lost his voice. That tour didn't make the whole States. I guess you were lucky that it was in New York and Oakland, but I remember it's fizzling out somewhere.
Yeah, they lost a lot of shows here and there. I know I think Joel had lost some Whitesnake shows out in Australia or something with the Scorpions because Klaus's voice. But I mean, he's not the youngest guy in the world. That stuff's not the easiest stuff in the world to sing. That Scorpion stuff is way up there. That old
I saw 2 Scorpions farewell tours, and then I've seen them about 3 times since. I actually did the meet and greet at the PNC, and I went up to Claus and I said, "Listen, I saw you open up for Ted Nugent and Edgar Winter," and he goes like, "That was our first tour, and now you're at our last."
Scorpions, I saw them open for somebody at the Garden. It was one of the best opening band performances I ever saw, and I can't remember who it was. Who did they open for at the Garden, the Scorpions?
That's a good question. What year are we talking?
It was probably the Blackout tour.
I saw them in like 78 or 79. It was at the Pocono Downs Jam in Wilkes-Barre. and it was like Ted Nugent, Edgar Winter, Henry Paul band. I don't remember all the bands. There was just this like wild metal band out first. We had just walked in, screaming, yelling, running around. I didn't even know who they were yet then. And then I, of course, fell in love with them. What's that, Alex?
Is that what Uli playing? Late 70s?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up. We'd have to look it up. I'm not real sure. I think it was a Love Drive tour, though. It was their first tour in the States. And remember, they wouldn't play anything pre that album in the States because they didn't tour yet. That was the thing they didn't do for a long time. Finally, on that final tour, they did like a medley and did some of the real cool mid 70s stuff, Will, on that tour, if I'm not mistaken.
Didn't they open for Kiss on the Love Drive tour?
I think they did. I think I might have saw them open for Kiss somewhere. I'm trying to look at their tour history right now.
I'm looking at 74, 79 or something, but that's not accurate.
And I'm trying to. Every time I go to get something I want, I get denied here. It's tour history.
The Scorpions.
Will remind me, and I'll send you some Mickey D drum solo footage I shot from the last Scorpions.
Totally. Microphones in the air. You see them?
Yeah. But going back to Lemmy and Motorhead.
Claus mine is still loving you. So I guess, Will, are we ready to move on to Kenny?
Yeah, I'm done. All
right, cool. Ken, what's up?
All right. Last song, I guess. Dig Deep, early stuff. On Parole. It's kind of like I like it because it's there in between, I guess, from when Lemmy got kicked out of Hawkwind. It still has like those kind of more rocky elements to it, but the foundation's there. I mean, I just like the song, and it's more or less the story of what happened to him in Canada, getting busted with speed and getting kicked out of the band. But I love all their stuff, but I like that EP a lot because it's the very early formative stages of the band. And that's all I got.
Excellent. I thank you very much. Chris, what's your closing statements today?
I don't, you know what? I don't really know if I have a closing statement that's any different than my starting ones. I mean, that's
okay.
That was a great experience in my life, being able to get on the stage and play with them, and knowing that, like they said, they said I was one of 12 people that had that opportunity at that point in time. I don't know if anybody else did, but they were really stingy about it, about who they let up to play with them. So I had a chance, and they said, "For you tell anybody, you tell them you were in Motorhead for a night." Technically, awesome. I was in Motorhead for 5 of the loudest minutes of my life, and I just played that stage a half an hour before I went on with them, and the monitors I had did not sound like that. It had that same monitor system. And they took all the speakers from the monitor and they put them a big, huge circle around Lemmy and a big, huge circle around. And they just all had their own little mini PA systems. And they were screaming at the monitor guy, change something. And I couldn't hear what you could actually ask for that you didn't have or what you would want. It was just a loud, ear blistering thing that had all of them, but I can't see how you could say turn me up in that situation, because it was so loud and blistering that I can't hear what you would actually be able to hear more or less of, because I didn't know. It was amazing. So for me, I think my 5 minutes in Motorhead were my closing statement.
Awesome. A great closing statement. I don't think anybody else can say that on this group tonight. I can't say it. John Mcentee, once again, I'd like to tell everyone I'm so honored that you guys spent some time with me again tonight, and thank you all very much for joining my little pandemic project here. And John, closing statements.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having us, and it's really cool. You're still keeping the record store alive and fighting through it, because a lot of record stores aren't able to last, especially with the pandemic. So what you're doing is really
thank you. I've got my staff working at the store pretty much. I'm laying low with the virus due to my wife's health issues, and right now I figured, every day is kind of like a snow day, coming home when you don't have to go to school, and that's my mindset at the moment. hanging out and talking about music a little bit. It really helps my soul. It's cool.
Yeah, well, it's
Thanks,
always great to be able to talk about music. I mean, when it comes to talking about anything important for other people, I can't say anything. But when it comes to metal, I could blabber forever.
Yeah. I love that.
But first of all, the song I picked, which was a song that I wasn't super familiar with, but when I was listening through some of the Motorhead albums to prepare for the show, I found this one. I thought it was a really cool song. I think it's overlooked. Maybe I'm wrong because I might not pay attention, but it's kind of a ballad song that they do, which is God Was Never on Your Side off Kiss of Death. I don't know many people really talking about that song, but it's a really cool, like, power ballad. And it has such a authentic vibe to it. It's like you feel inside Lemmy's head or something when you hear it. So that really touched me when I heard it. And just from my closing statements, I think for me, it was irony that Lemmy actually lived as long as he did, actually. I mean, it's sad that he's gone, for sure. But, I mean, I remember back in the 80s, people were like, thinking that, how does this guy live as long as he did? And this was in the 80s. People thought that he was, like, so
Wasn't he only, like, 40-something in the 80s, though?
People basically had this idea, like, this guy's, like, invincible. He's never going to die. And
like
he lasted, like, 30 years more than that, So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I try to look at things in a positive way, but it's like I feel like we got an extra 30 years out of him, more than we probably should have. Instead of,
Sold my soul for rock and roll. He definitely did. I think it keeps you young.
Yeah, and he's a true inspiration for, I think, all musicians that want to just follow their own path and do things their own way and don't want to give up, for any reason or let any, I mean, he did it basically, from when he was a, young, teenager pretty much, and all the way until he died, he was playing. And that's something I think really to look up to, because, was doing it. I feel he was doing it because it was just who he was, and he needed to express himself that way and just wanted to do it. Just loved playing music, and creating music and stuff. And I think, any musician, can look up to that kind of, thing. And he never really sold out. He always kind of did it his way. Even maybe some of the slightly more commercial stuff was only so slight. It was, I couldn't say it was commercially.
Like the WWE song, right?
Yeah, but still.
That was
Born to Raise Hell with Ice-T.
Yeah, but he'd always still do it his own way, like it always sounded like Motorhead or Lemmy whenever he played stuff. It wasn't like, it sounded totally off the wall. Like, what the hell is this? Even that, what was it? That one video I seen on YouTube where he's like on, what was it? Playing Roll Over Beethoven or something like that. I forget what song it was.
I think that was it.
It still sounds badass, like the way he's doing it sounds like Motorhead. Like he just had a way of making everything sound like, his, and it was like part of him, his the cover songs that he's done always sounded like Motorhead songs, even though like Louie Louie and stuff early on.
The Louie Louie, I forgot.
Yeah, they all sound like Motorhead songs. There's something really special about that, and like I said, the fact that he was doing it for so long. I mean, basically doing it before almost any, there's hardly any other bands have been doing it as long as him, for their whole life until they die,
Was it a true story that he actually did roadie for Jimi Hendrix?
I heard that. I mean, I don't know.
That was one of the things I used to hear. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good, rad. I hope that's true.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I never asked with that one.
It could have happened because Jimi Hendrix used to play a lot in England at that time, when he was young. So it's possible.
God, that's rad. I got to look it up. Let's see.
That's our
I think I read it in a book or something about he
did Jimi Hendrix
or something.
I've heard that too, that he roadie for him for a while.
I heard the same thing.
Might be true, probably. It's kind of cool if he did.
Oh yeah.
It does say that It says he worked as a roadie for Jimi Hendrix and the Nice before joining space rock band Hawkwind in 1971.
Yeah, Hawkwind, yep.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry, what did I say?
Hawk something. Hawkman.
I don't know what I said. I'm sorry. Like I'm drinking too much. I am drinking too much Jack Daniels for Lemmy right now, and I'm a little buzzed. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Cool. So once again,
but yeah, that's like insane. That's a cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool information. I like
the
that.
rock and roll legend. He roadied for Jimi Hendrix and became one of the baddest bass player frontmen of all time. You know?
He transcended. I mean, he had a big punk hardcore following too.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even like hard rock metal people know him. Like it's pretty diverse, especially at that time. There was more of a split between the punk scene and the metal scene back then. And I seen punk kids all the time wear Motorhead shirts and getting into it.
Oh yeah.
They made so much fucking money off of that logo and those T-shirts. That was a huge. That's the biggest concert T-shirt in the history of concert T-shirts as Motorhead shirts. They made bloody fucking fortune off of Motorhead merchandise.
That or like the Ramones or something.
Yeah, it's like Harley Davidson. It's like Harley Davidson.
Yeah,
it was that big.
Not me.
Motorhead shirts.
Well, I do, but not that big.
Yeah, Phil was telling me about that one night, that the amount of money that they goes.
That's major.
We don't have to play. They didn't even ask for money for festivals, really. Motorhead had a deal. They would play anywhere you wanted them to for $15,000 in cash and all their expenses. So you had to fly them there, get hotel rooms, pay. They had a pay set for their crew and their everybody who worked for them. And each guy in the band, Mickey would walk into the production office before the show, and they had to hand him $15,000 in $100 bills. And that was their guarantee for any show they would do. And I don't know if it rose up by the end of the career, but
probably. Yeah.
But that your dog?
Yeah, he's getting pissed off because I've spent an hour away from him.
Okay.
So, but that was their price, and it was just. What Mickey said, it was kind of like them pretending they were They were very into Scarface, so they wanted to have the cash. Guns N' Roses did that at a different scale. When they did their stadium tour, each of the guys in the band, Duff McKagan told me that they walked into the dressing room, and each guy in the band got $1 million in cash every night on their stadium tour. Huh. So Motorhead got.
I'm happy with the $10 buyout.
Motorhead got $15,000, and Guns N' Roses got $5 million, but
Cool. Well,
I got to run and take this crazy dog out. He's not going to show up.
All right, Chris. Well,
good seeing everybody.
Let's pop a top for Lemmy or
I don't even have name. I'm doing sea glass art, but I don't even have anything. I don't have anything to cheer you. I have a dog.
That's fine.
All right.
Thanks,
I gotta run. Good seeing everybody. Thank you for having me on. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So everyone, thank you for watching this episode of Rock Fantasy Files. If you like what you see, we plan on doing some more in the future. And please subscribe to the channel. Like, comment your favorite Lemmy moments or Motorhead or Hawkwind songs. And also, moment of silence for Alexi, we lost from Children of Bodom, and Mr. Leslie West, one of the heavy metal hard rock pioneers of Woodstock.
Yeah, here's another one, man. He
another good friend of Chris's. Well, maybe we'll do a Leslie West show one week.
We could do that because I opened for Mountain when I was 16 years old with my first club band. So
that's awesome.
But I got to go. Those dogs going to go crazy.
Awesome.
Hey.
All right, so thanks for watching again. I'm going to stop recording.